Welcome back to the second part of my top 5 left field recommendations for the Nintendo 64. The first two games I covered were fairly obscure and weren't very well received upon release. Without spoiling anything, I can say that these last 3 entries had better reputations when they were new. Let's continue with number 3. This one's interesting tone for a number of reasons. Most obviously, it's a matter of the game existing at all, because really, it shouldn't. Let me explain. When the PlayStation launched in Europe, 2 games stole the show, Ridge Racer and Wipeout. The original Wipeout came out for the Sega Saturn as well, which is strange on its own since Sony had bought the game's developer, Psygnosis, in 1993. One might say that, okay, Psygnosis had perhaps done a whole lot of work on this Saturn port and didn't want to throw that away. But what's stranger is that they then released an all-new game exclusively for the Nintendo 64 in 1998. It seems bizarre, equivalent to seeing a Halo game coming out for the PS3 or Splatoon coming out for the Xbox One. But the strangeness of this game isn't limited to its mere existence. One of the advantages of having a cartridge-based console is of course the lack of loading times. Only thing is that this game actually does have loading screens. The reason for this isn't actually as much loading as it is compression. You see, a big part of the Wipeout identity was the cool techno music, and the developers had probably paid a whole lot of money to get the rights to get music from Fluke into their games, so they seem to have decided to include unusually high music quality and then compress it like there's no tomorrow, then decompress it whenever a new level opens. But enough with the strangeness. Is it any good, I hear you ask? Well, it's hard to tell, really. I only ever played a demo of Wipeout on the original PlayStation, and that was well over a decade ago. So I have no idea how well it stacks up against its PlayStation brethren. What I can say, however, is that from the small amount of time I've spent playing it, it has good controls, cool power-ups, nice graphics, a smooth frame rate, and of course a rocking soundtrack. All in all, I think it's a package well worth spending a few bucks on. Number 2. Yeah, another racing game. I know, I'm a bit of a car nut. Some franchises like The Legend of Zelda, Sonic, and Final Fantasy have stood the test of time. They're permanent monuments in the gaming landscape, which are likely to be around in some form for as long as the medium itself. Other franchises are products of their time and reach popularity because they struck a chord with players at the time and become kind of iconic for that time or symbolize a particular console. San Francisco Rush is a game like that. It's a fairly early release for the Nintendo 64, coming out in late 1997. And while some of you may try to compare it to Lamborghini, this is a different beast altogether. Rush was designed from the start to finish to be fun, with no intention at any point to be realistic. The developers even added extreme racing to the title because, you know, it's the 90s, so absolutely everything had to be extreme. Vehicle physics are quite unusual, featuring moon-like gravity, allowing for some insane airtime. The tracks feature lots and lots of shortcuts, many of which can only be accessed using the moon-like gravity. Something noteworthy is, of course, the music, which consists of cool surf rock. This music is, in fact, so badass that, at times, I have played it while driving in real life. That's how good it is. Rush is only the first entry in a franchise consisting of 4 games, 3 of which came out for the N64. The first game later came out for the original PlayStation and was finally enhanced in a midway compilation for the PC and original Xbox. Without being too much of a fanboy, I can say that the N64 version is the version to get, unless you're a super fan of this game and want to get the actual arcade cabinet, because that is obviously the penultimate experience. For unknown reasons, the PlayStation version is inferior in every conceivable way, featuring not only downgraded graphics, which one might expect, but also different vehicle handling, fewer tracks, and fewer cars. The PC and Xbox versions have far better graphics, but seem to have some strange audio glitches which make the game a chore to play.
Number 1.
I'm going to finish this video off on a high note with an incredibly overlooked game. Pilotwings 64 is a flight simulator where the player takes control of one of several different aircraft, including a gyrocopter, jetpack, and hang glider, and perform non-combat based missions. The game was used by Nintendo to show off the graphical capabilities of the system early in the machine's lifespan. This has led to some people dismissing it as just that. A showpiece, style over substance. I, however, disagree. The vehicles are easy to control, yet really rewarding to master. This may not be a flight sim in the truest sense of the word, but flying these vehicles feels just right. The biggest stars of this game are, however, the environments. There are 4 of them, and apart from the first one, which basically serves as a tutorial level, they're all very large, and they all have great attention to detail. I mean, this is a flight game, but they've still added tight caves to fly through, animated Ferris wheels, and even gas stations that you can land in and refuel on. I can't tell how much time I spent flying around these worlds exploring every nook and cranny. The closest experience I've ever had in gaming was, strangely enough, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. But the way the game was designed is pretty much the opposite of GTA, as it's a quite peaceful and calm game. A wide variety of missions is on offer, ranging from flying through rings, taking photos of landmarks, and shooting or landing on targets. After landing, the player is given a score based on a few parameters, usually involving time and how well the landing went. Based on score, you earn either a bronze, silver, or gold badge. And typical for the time, the game features a lot of unlockable content. And when I say a lot, I really mean a lot. As you progress through the game, you unlock 4 new play modes. Birdman is basically a hang glider that's not dependent on jet streams. The rest are more self-explanatory, like using jumping shoes, being a human cannonball, and skydiving. And they're all very entertaining and satisfying to learn. All in all, this is a criminally overlooked game which definitely should get a sequel for the Switch, and definitely is going to entertain you for quite a while.